back.
I'm all for architecture, but I'm not for manipulating society.
You go like every 15th
Back,
letter of the ninth
so.
page.
Right, where?
And you can go like
Oh, it lets you like.
What do you guys think? Who do you think killed Jeffrey Epstein?
And it's just like every.
It's a good question, right? The victims deserve some justice.
Like, no, you're looking for numbers. Right. What I'm trying to basically get at. Where like, you can type in.
So we are back in front of the programming. Let me know if you can hear everything good. I'm on a different device. All right, Angel Cuts. I've never streamed on this device before, so. Again, out here in front of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma State University, and educate the guy over here. It's good. Outlaw X Tab PG code.
Satisfied about every aspect of it, but there are some definite real problems that we need to address. Loss of our freedom, the NSA spying, justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims, what's going on in Yemen, and all the geopolitics.
The pandemic of the last 2 years that's taken more and more of our
You
freedoms.
can research Event 201, it's the coronavirus simulation. And in that simulation, pretty much we're living out what's happening today. You know, Trump narrowly loses the fight, and then chaos ensues. You know, the Capitol insurrection. So a lot of
That was tip. That was tip.
Okay.
Where it was simulated where Trump would win and there would be an
Correct.
upset and Trump would refuse to give it up. They simulated it, then it happened. So Event 211, Event 211, this is all, held in New York City, October 18th of 2019, right before it dropped. And it said, what if a deadly pandemic ravaged the earth and they rushed out of vaccine and a bunch of people died? And then it happened.
On that plaque over there, it says Gaylord, the man who this hall is named after, is the biggest influence in the state of Oklahoma in communication and media and journalism in the history of the state.
Yes, my lord, right? Like English serving the Vatican, like my lord, right? Lord, why are you doing
It was simulated.
And who was the first actor that got it?
Damn, baby.
It was,
It's coming out now.
played in the
Research it.
in Seattle.
Hitting them with the scorpion, spider, snake venom. Right?
So why are these?
Research it. It's in it.
You know, obviously,
Yeah, it's in there. Don't get scared now.
Well, it's like I say, we're living out like.
Don't be scared now because they're coming out with this shit in your body.
Depopulate the human race because you know they take at least 10
Also, I think Zach is live too.
I
So
know you're being rushed out. Why would you take out a rushed out vaccine when you don't know the side effects? You know,
it's good, Chigozi. Hey, Chigozi, when are you coming?
you don't need big.
We all want to know. We don't have your contact info.
That's basically where I stand.
those patterns and kind of structural emblems that indicate this whole process. What if those
Well,
being put there?
they don't like this side. They don't like this one.
No, I know. That's
What if
that's
there's
going to
actually
be
something
off-putting
else
to
going
the
on about this system of patterns in front of us?
This work is undeniable.
I mean, what do you think the percentage of
Familiar number
poked students that are at this school? Probably what, 95%? Poked students.
What do you think about
Oh, yeah. Good question. I don't know. Good question. Let me say hello real quick. Guys, if you're just joining us, share the feed. Who do you think killed Jeffrey Epstein, young lady? You should find out.
Hey,
Everyone's
tomorrow, okay.
Guys, share the feed, share the feed, share the feed.
Okay. What's good, Patricia Steer? All right, there goes,
What do you guys think happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Neither. Good question.
All right, we got some.
He's asking what we're doing here. It's when we're spreading truth.
We're sharing
sharing knowledge and information. I came down here from Seattle to educate tomorrow at the memorial site for the Oklahoma City bombing. Have you ever looked into that? Yeah. Do you find the official story questionable? You don't find it questionable?
I didn't look much into it.
Okay.
Yo, how do you keep
I mean, and they actually perfectly match your mask too. You're very well coordinated. Oh, damn! That was a pimp as fuck.
See, maybe questionable. The police in the states have always told about,
Yes, so it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, it's very possible.
Did you come specifically for that, or?
We did. Or I did at least.
and to drop some truth around,
Sure. Have you happened to notice in your lifetime, you're relatively young, that April 19th is a day riddled with tragedies? Almost every year, somewhere in the world, it's always
The wind is blowing.
a mass shooting in Canada that got the nation's gun rights taken away on April 19th.
What's the
Significance of that day?
what? The better question is what's this like? That be a coincidence?
So let me share something with you, and let me see if you think this sounds coincidental.
Okay.
So April 19th, I'm glad you asked that question, first of all. April 19th is a very special day to the Jesuit order. Do you know who the Jesuit order is?
I don't.
So they are the Roman Catholic military order founded by Ignatius of Loyola, and he became the first superior general of the Jesuits on April 19th, 1541 in the 16th century. Very big century if you study the 16th century. English standardized with the
You guys
26
hear
letter
good?
alphabet, the Gregorian calendar, introduced in tribute to the Pope, the heliocentric
hear
model
good.
introduced. A lot of big things happened in the 16th century that are true to this day. And there's a lot of recurring patterns, very specific to certain dates. And April 19th is this huge date throughout history. It's the day in history the American Revolutionary War started. And the Catholic Church and the Jesuits have had an influence in this country from the beginning. It's why the separation of church and state is one of the key things here, because a lot of people are trying to escape the Catholic tyranny of Europe when this nation was founded. The Jesuits have been kicked out of a lot of nations throughout history because they've had a very sinister influence. That phrase, the end justifies the means, was essentially created by the Jesuits. But here's the thing. April 19th is the day Ignatius of Loyola, who's also the founder of the Jesuits, became their first superior general. And here's why this matters. They're into something called Kabbalah. Are you familiar with Kabbalah? Kabbalah originally comes from Jewish mysticism. Are you aware that every Hebrew letter is also a number? Okay, so this is something to look into. It's also true of ancient Greek. The ancient Greek alphabet, every letter is a number. So just the first letter is 1, the second letter is 2, the third letter is 3. And the numerical value of words is important. And a lot of the language is encoded in words that are related have the same numerical value. And what's amazing is if you study this, you'll see there's a lot of overlap with English words if you add up the value of English words, if you just turn A into 1, B into 2, C into 3, D into 4, so on. So this is what I wanted to say if you think this is a coincidence. If you spell out Ignatius of Loyola, it happens to add up to 201. And before I go any further, I want you to know this is an important number in the Jesuit history books. Right now we're living in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, who was the first ever Pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. Just like Ignatius of Loyola equals 201. If you look into the Jesuit history, they were suppressed in the 1700s, and their story is that they would have gone extinct. They would have been destroyed as an order if it wasn't for Catherine the Great, who preserved the order with 201 Jesuit priests. The Jesuits were originally created in France. The last French Pope was the 201st Pope, and now we have Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. His birth name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, and if you add up the letters, it equals 201. So, a lot of rituals go on with the Jesuits. Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation 1 month before the outbreak in Wuhan, China, put on by the Jesuit Klaus Schwab, who's the leader of the World Economic Forum. And it also happened the exact same day that the military World Games began in Wuhan, China, that are credited to the Jesuits. The first military World Games were in Italy, sponsored by the Jesuits, in the year 95, the same year as the Oklahoma City bombing. And 95 is another number that's not arbitrary to the Jesuits because their original purpose was to counter the 95 Theses, which was the Protestant Reformation against the Catholic Church. But that's why the Jesuits were recognized by Rome on September 27, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. It's another number that's important. But coming back to 201, so April 19th, associated with Ignatius of Loyola, Mr. 201 himself. If you write out the Jesuit order, it equals 201. If you write out Timothy McVeigh, it equals 201. That's the bomber. If you write out his accomplice name, Terry Lynn Nichols, it's 201. The story is he didn't want to get caught. He took a lot of precautions to not get caught, but after the bombing, he went on the interstate on a car and driving in a car with no license plate. You gotta think, okay, if you don't want to get caught by the police, what are you doing driving on the interstate with no license plate? That's the best way to get pulled over in 5 seconds. The car that he was driving in was a Mercury Marquis, so they say. Guess what Mercury Marquis equals? 201. Now the thing about Mercury, on the periodic table, it's the only element that has an atomic mass of just about 201. It's 201. It's 200.59. So rounding it'd be 201. But Mercury in Roman mythology is the trickster, and the original definition in the first dictionaries printed in this country of Jesuitism is trickery and deception. And Mercury from Roman mythology is about deception and trickery. Now, what's interesting is Timothy McVeigh was sentenced to death on June 13th, 97. That's the day leaving 201 days left in the year, and that's also the day in 1942 that the United States of America invented its military propaganda department. Again, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. If you're in the military, your personnel file is called a 201 file. It keeps all your records, your psychological profile, all this. Timothy McVeigh's former military, whose name happens to equal 201, who the attack's blamed on. And this is the thing. They put him to death 3 months before 9/11, on June 11th. What's funny is that date's written 11/6. The word execution is 116. The term capital punishment equals 201, which is another topic. But they put him to death right before 9/11. And the thing is, 95. But growing up in this nation, I was born in '83. When the Oklahoma City bombing happened, none of us had ever heard about anything like that in American history. This crazy act of terrorism that killed all these innocent people. Well, when 9/11 happened, what flashed through my mind? Oklahoma City, because it was so similar. And Timothy McVeigh had just been put to death. But think about this. There were 2 World Trade Centers that became 0, that became 1, because now it's 1 World Trade Center, right? 201. And what's amazing is they simulated that attack. You can look it up if you get a minute. If you remember this, Operation Amalgam Virgo is the government simulation, June 1st, 2001. A simulation of Al-Qaeda attacking the U.S., including skyscrapers in New York City. You can look up this PDF. It's still on the government website. It's Osama bin Laden's face on the cover. That simulation was exactly 102 days before the attack on 9/11. They say the 9/11 attack lasted 102 minutes. Of course, 102 is the reflection of 201. Are you familiar with the text Art of War? Sun Tzu, Art of War? If you look into that, there's no history of Sun Tzu ever existed. The only reason the world knows about that text is because the Jesuit priest Father Amiot, he translated Art of War, a French Jesuit priest, just like the Jesuits are originally from France. And what's interesting is if you write out Art of War, and if you write out World War, they both equal 102, the reflection of 201. And 9/11 led us to 20 more years of war. But essentially what the government is doing, which is controlled by the Jesuits who've been in D.C. longer than the federal government's been there, the first Jesuit university in this nation is Georgetown. And it's named after George Washington, who was a Freemason. Modern Freemasonry was created by the Jesuits in London. If you go to the Oklahoma City bombing site, the Masonic Temple's on the campus, and they're the private owner of that museum. So the Jesuits are right there. The Catholic Church is across the street. AT&T's across the street, which is a whole other piece. But just based on what I've told you right now with all this 201, doesn't that sound a little bit beyond coincidence?
I think you have been recording this from the beginning. How much time passed?
Here, 12 minutes.
I asked the question. Like when that made, you said you told me about all the facts, not facts, statements around all over the place, and you didn't answer my question.
Well, almost all of those 201s pertain to that day, April 19th, 95. How it's specific to the Jesuits, and all those numbers are related to the Jesuits in the military when they're military.
I literally stood here for 12 minutes and you didn't answer one question.
What'd you
So
ask?
what are the odds of that being a coincidence?
Yeah.
So to me, it seems highly unlikely that that could all be a
No, but I could find 201
But like, I think the theory that you have here is that see, I do agree that the state and the police that they lie all the fucking time. That's there, okay? But the theory that you have seems to be that Catholics want to burn the place, and they call it the Oklahoma bombing and the 9/11. Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, I wouldn't specifically. I mean, the Jesuits do serve the Catholic Church, so ultimately it is Catholic at the top. But I wouldn't say like all Catholics are responsible. But it's this Jesuit military order that is behind these actions.
The Jesuits have had multiple lawsuits against their society for things of that nature. So that's fair on that.
Yeah. So
They have compounds. They have compounds where they take little kids to do nasty things like that. We have proof on these things.
Yes,
And they get away with these things, man.
If you were to tell me that there may be some inconsistencies in the story, police have lied all the time. I would have taken some time to look at it. But if it's such a grand scheme like that, it's extremely statistically unlikely. And I took some of your time. And
Can I ask you one question?
Ask me.
Why do you still wear the mask?
There have been a small uptick
And what?
in the
So you think that keeps you safe from
cases.
anything?
No, not as safe as I would like to think.
Let me tell you something funny. Look this stat up. The CDC says that those masks prevent the spread of COVID by 56%. And here's the joke. The first governor to lock down the state, in the U.S. was Gavin Newsom, who's Jesuit educated. His name in gematria equals 56. His quote to California when he locked down the state is,
There is no way for me to look at his name.
Well, let me finish the point. He said in 8 weeks, 56% of California will get coronavirus. Of course, 8 weeks is 56 days. 56%. His name in gematria equals 56. So does Anthony Fauci. They're both Jesuit educated. If you write out Society of Jesus, it's 56. If you write out coronavirus, it's 56. If you write out COVID vaccine, it's 56. The first case of COVID in the world was 56 days after the Event 201 simulation.
I don't know what this is writing that means.
If you spell out the word and add up the value of the word, it adds to 56.
Your courtrooms in California, guess how many people fit in the courtrooms? 56 people fit in the courtrooms in California. You think that's a coincidence?
My friend, here's
Not-
my advice to
not
you as a
50
young man. You
not
need to open your
55,
mind.
not
You're wearing a
60, but
slave muzzle to
56.
see if you'll comply with the lie, to see if there's really any critical thinking going on in your head. That is not protecting you from anything.
I came and I asked.
I could
what
show you
the
them. They
people
cause
say.
warning cancer signs. They
Well,
have
my friend-
cancer sign, warning label, warning label signs now.
My
for those.
friend, they want people like you. I just gave you a very specific thing connected to the day, and you said you gave me things all over the place that are so random over 12 minutes. I gave you a very specific, structured explanation.
If you go back to the
My friend, you can go to class if you want to, but I just want you to know you're out here wearing your slave muzzle that does nothing besides make you look like an idiot. I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
You look like a moron.
There is no need to get defensive.
No, but I'm being honest with you. This is what they want. They want a society of compliant morons with no critical thinking who think everything's a coincidence. And what, from talking to you, you're exactly what's wrong with the country.
you know
I
how
was
many-
18 when 9/11 happened. It was a fucking joke. It was the most obvious lie, and almost everyone on the college campus believed it hook, line, and sinker, and it was such a fucking joke. And now the joke is people are walking. I wonder what the world would look like in 20 years, and this is what it looks like. People in their head with their phone like this, with their slave muzzle on, believing loads of shit, watching CNN, and then somebody comes and shows them something that's undeniable, and they're like, I can't comprehend that. That was a big coincidence. I mean, that didn't even make any sense. You took 12 minutes of my day. I just gave you some of the most brilliant information. If you pay attention, you'll see that same fucking numbers everywhere as they take away your rights and liberties and dictate how to live your life in a nonsensical manner.
Yeah, see, this turned from a respectful
But
conversation
you
to
sh-
a disrespectful
it's okay.
one.
No,
See,
you know why it happened? Because of what you said. And again,
Did I say
there's righteous anger. No, but your
Check out
response to me.
Gematrinator, the calculator online, and that way you'll be able to understand. what
He
we're
doesn't
saying.
want to understand.
But that's all. It, that's
I do.
Swear?
I speak. It's my first
First language?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then look up Abjad. ABJB. That's
They use it.
gematria. It's exactly what he's talking about, but that's for Arabic.
The Jesuits
And when you
control-
look it up in Arabic, they tell you they use that to predict the
See,
future.
I came to
Because
see
the Arabs brung the number 0, right? But long before them,
The Indians.
Kabbalists, what Zach's talking about, they've been running gematria. It's undeniable.
check
If I
out the
pull up-
calculator.
I pull up
though.
the
Check out the
Gematria
calculator.
calculator,
Gematrinator.
So
Yeah, just do
Look
that.
up
That's
Abjad.
all.
See,
Yeah.
besides all of this, the best of luck what's taking place in here. You seem to be passionate with that.
Do you question this and the shot and all that? or-
I do question it.
Did you
yeah.
get the shot?
vaccinated?
I did.
That explains everything right there. I'm
Yeah,
really
just the
sorry,
fact that
but-
you did that. Here's something you should look into. Did you get Moderna, run by the Jesuits, or did you get Pfizer, who merged with GlaxoSmithKline, the two most sued companies in the history of the world for wrongful death and injury and fraud? Critical thinking. I'm trying to inspire it, buddy.
80% of anyone who goes to a university ends up moving back to their mom and dad's house or working at McDonald's. Who do you think planned that? There's 28 Jesuit universities in this country, but you best believe that they control every single university. They control it all.
A little windy out here. Can you guys hear, right?
It's easy. A third grader can learn that.
But
You're
we
not
thank
thinking,
you.
sir. That's why I talked to you the way I did, 'cause maybe that'll get in your head. But we went out and got a rushed out vaccine that's part of a military operation. You know what day they declared that operation? On Mercury, the thing that's harmful in vaccines.
Yes, you know what? And
That's
that's
what day they declared the operation as war mockery.
you know what?
One second. To mention things to them, try to do it in a less defensive manner.
When I see that people
And,
are
I
brain
wish
dead
you the best
morons,
of
I
luck.
talk to them this way because they make me sick. You make me sick.
Sad.
No, that guy's a fucking idiot, and that's what's wrong with the country. A
Jesuits-
fucking moron in his slave model.
Zero to-
Turn around. It doesn't matter. So apparently they dip the hats in country. So put the hat on.
So look at this guy. This is what propagates these kids. Civilians to evacuate. CNN. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, man. Subscribe to Yeah Right the Matrix. Hit the bell. Go to YouTube and type in Yeah Right the Matrix, and then hit the filter for channel. Subscribe to all the channels. We out here with everybody, man. This is cool that people get together. You know.
More people rolling in later tomorrow. So there's other people that aren't here that are here, but they're just not here.
Yeah, if you're anywhere in the vicinity of Oklahoma City, you got plenty of time to get down here. Go to the memorial tomorrow. Ask questions. So put a sign. You know, strength in numbers. Always remain nonviolent. Share this video. Share all the Yeah Right the Matrix videos.
And also Demand the Truth. Fake Mike, Real News. Go to his channel, of course. Go to Zach's. You guys are already on Zach's channel. Something happened. What happened? What's good, everybody in the chats? Disciples, Truth and Justice for You, Goblin, OG Genesis, Disambiguation, Cuts, Chroma, Goblin, Outlaw, Blink, Validated 8, G Code, Ryan, Purple Beats. Peace. Shout out to Purple Beats. Subscribe to his channel with the dope fire beats. What else is up on here? Groveland Girl. Shout out to you, Groveland. Chigozi. See you tomorrow, brother. Well, it's Artie's Corporate Fishing. We owe you a debate. I think me and Will Turbot will double team you. Because you dodged my debate last
Here's the
time.
debate. He was like, well, people can make other laws and do other things. Well, the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution, as well as Marbury versus Madison 1803, says all laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are therefore null and void. So you can say, oh, but if it's against the Constitution, it's null and void. There's really no debate to be had there. Honestly, that's debate over.
Artie told me the United States isn't a corporation.
Well, we looked that up on the Code of Federal Regulations and showed it. I was actually skeptical about that myself. I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical, but we pulled it up on the live stream, and it actually says on the CFR website, not the Council on Foreign Relations, but the other CFR website.
Federal codes and rules and regulations.
It literally says that we pulled it up on the stream. And people didn't believe that we're under Admiralty Maritime Law, right?
That's
but then
right.
when the people got arrested
Right.
at
All
the Capitol, it's right here, it's on my phone.
You guys know I
I'll show it
made
to
the
you right
video. Artie, just go check out my other channel, the video. All the indictments and all the charges, it's not in the United States. It's in the District of Columbia, which is a
Providence Journal, which is
foreign land.
which is the mainstream reputable, quote unquote, reputable news outlet. Providence Journal. Take a look right here. Charges: destruction or injury to buildings or property in special maritime or territorial jurisdiction. What do you guys think? Who do you think killed Epstein? Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton?
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's a
we'll
good
take
answer.
that
That's
one.
the best answer all day.
We'll take that one. But there it is. Maritime, special maritime jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction.
I was skeptical about that too when
And-
Jordan Maxwell said that decades and decades and rest in peace to Jordan Maxwell. But I was skeptical when he said that decades and decades and decades and decades ago. But there it is in black and white from a quote unquote reputable news source. And all these news sources, whether it's CNN or Fox News, they're all owned by Vanguard or BlackRock. So you want Rachel Maddow? Sure, you can have her. You want Tucker Carlson? You can have her. They're all owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. You know it, right? He knows it. He's a little shy, but he knows it.
I think this is something you would all find very useful.
How do you want to do this?
I don't want to do it at all, bro. Thank you for the offer.
Where is this at?
Absolutely beautiful day, though. It's not a cloud in the sky. It's a little windy.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, got a plane going up there.
It is beautiful, but it's cold. It's nice.
Share the video, guys. Share the video. Let's put an end to the illegal, unconstitutional NSA. Let's really, what about the Federal Reserve banking system?
He's
We need
back.
a Federal Reserve.
I'm just listening where you're going with this.
Well, so I would just encourage you, because I think you're on a very, a clear track towards understanding a lot about the world in a sort of, a way that gives you enough distance from the common way of seeing things, that you're really onto something. But I just kind of think, by grounding what you think in very, strictly, rigidly materialist understandings of why things happen, what happens, right? When something happens, when people do something, why are they doing that thing? Sure. And, do individual people's decisions matter that much, right? Do small groups of people have that much sway over events, right? Proportional to the amount of stuff that's happening? Or is the, independent, self-interested action of different, economic properties more important? That's kind of what I've been mulling on. Okay. Talk to you about. What do you think of that?
Well, I think there's a small group of people that definitely want to influence and steer people in certain directions. And essentially what we see is there's a group of people who want more and more power and control and influence over more and more people. Mm-hmm. And essentially what we're doing as a group is trying to undo their agenda and try to preserve freedom and quality of life. I mean,
how's that going?
I would put it into. It's challenging because most people they've been trained from a young age. I call it 13 years of slave school, pledging to the 13 stripes. It started with the 13 colonies to essentially grow up and be a tax commodity with the dollar bill with the 13 layers of bricks on it. People have been trained their whole life to submit to this authority and believe in this authority, believe that word would lie right in the middle. And again, it's hard for people to listen to anyone outside of that authority. And for a lot of people, that authority is what's on the television, where the people in the suits are, the nightly news anchors and the politicians. And people like ourselves, as much as we research and as much knowledge and information as we have, it's still hard to connect with people because they're so used to, tuning into CNN. That's where the information that they need is, not, the man on the street.
Well, you can tell the Russian cyber attack was brought down on Tehran command.
Is there a Russian cyber attack in the news today?
Well, it's stopped.
Oh, that's
Stopped scrolling, and that's the only
okay. That's
way I can
interesting.
imagine.
Is it usually scrolling though? Does it usually work?
It often does.
Did they have wear your mask going on there when the mask mandates were enforced here? On that?
Really?
No?
Never strictly or anything. They weren't really enforced most anywhere I've been around here.
When did this happen that stopped the scroll? Was that today?
Ah,
Interesting.
that's
So it's
funny.
almost the 100. I was
The
saying
free
there should be some cyber attack news on the 109th day of the year, which is tomorrow. But in Russia right now, it's the 109th day of the year. But I got to figure out what time it happened at. So, interesting. The language we taught, I educate about the language that pretty much news is scripted by every day. Cyber attack has a gematria value of 109. Tomorrow's the 109th day. So it's more military. So a lot of military operations happen on April 19th that are blamed on patsies like Tim McVeigh or the supposed Mountie shooter in Canada that got him disarmed 2 years ago on April 19th. Waco was pretty much a military operation. The feds.
Well, Timmy's whole deal is he was. I've always felt like he was, getting kicked around by the FBI. Right? You get your little, what's that town he was from? You know what I'm talking
Waco?
about? Well, Timothy
McVeigh is from
plugged into
Buffalo, isn't he? New York?
Well, the Bills obviously drove him down and stuff like that. But
They put him to death right before 9/11 in New York, and he's from New York.
he was a part, briefly after leaving the military, of a sort of like a white separatist community in the border side of Arkansas. You might look it up. It's very interesting. A town which, like all white separatist communities, are just overrun with feds. And so there's a lot of grounds people have put forward for suggesting he was actually as is often the case with terrorists, kind of operating with the knowledge of the authorities. Very similar to the Tsarnaev brothers, right? The people who actually made the bombs and then go to jail.
That bombing was on Patriots Day in Massachusetts. This bombing was just on the day that's celebrated as Patriots Day. I got to share. I just shared something with a student here, and it was. Do you mind if I share a piece of information with you about McVeigh? And I just want to see how your reaction compares with his.
Okay.
So, April 19th. Are you familiar with the Jesuit order?
Yeah.
Okay. That day's special to them because that's the day that their founder, Ignatius of Loyola, became the first superior general. If you don't know, the Jesuits see themselves as a military order, the military order of the Roman Catholic Church. So their leader is the superior general.
Right.
Okay. So the Jesuits are into Kabbalah too because they were, if you don't know the history, Martin Luther led the Protestant Reformation, which was mostly against Catholicism, but he was also against Judaism as well. So the Jesuits brought the Catholics and the Jews together. And Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, are you familiar with this? They have a text called the Book of Formation. And on the opening page it says, God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. Opening page, first paragraph. Kind of like Genesis, God speaks the world into existence over number days. So this practice of coding numbers into words is called gematria. Originally comes from Hebrew. Every letter is a number. So if you turn the English language into numbers, as A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, if you spell out Ignatius of Loyola in gematria, it adds up to 201. And again, April 19th is the day he became the first superior general. Now, we're living in the time of the first Jesuit Pope right now. Did you know that? Pope Francis?
Really?
He's the first publicly Jesuit Pope. I mean, it's possible there was another Jesuit Pope, but it's the first time they've publicly said this is a Jesuit
You never
Pope.
really know.
So he's the first Pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And his name's Pope Francis. And what's interesting is the Jesuits were created in Paris, France. And if you look up the history of the Jesuits, or not the Jesuits, the history of the Catholic popes, the last French Pope was the 201st Pope. Okay? Also, if you look into the Jesuit history, their order was preserved thanks to Catherine the Great. She preserved the order in Russia in the time of the Jesuit suppression. And the history book, the own Jesuit history, says that their order was preserved with 201 Jesuit priests. This number 201, right? So what's interesting is Pope Francis' birthday, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, if you add it up, it equals 201, right?
That's interesting.
If you write out the Jesuit order, it equals 201. If you write out Timothy McVeigh, it equals 201.
There we go.
If if you write out Terry Lynn Nichols, it's 201. They're military. A military personnel file is called a 201 file. Okay?
And which military?
U.S. military. U.S. military. The U.S. Military Propaganda Department was established June 13th, 1942, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. That was the same day Timothy McVeigh was sentenced to death in 97, June 13th. Even the story is that he was arrested in a Mercury Marquis. And guess what that adds up to? 201.
That's interesting.
And supposedly he didn't want to get caught. He went through a lot of measures to not get caught, but then he goes and drives on the interstate in this car with no license plate. I mean, that doesn't really make sense, right?
That's true, but so I guess I got two questions. So theologically speaking, or whatever, why does this system hold true over different languages, alphabets, calendar systems, right? So
I can answer that right there before you answer the second question. Do you remember your second question?
I'll tuck it away.
Tuck it away. I don't want you to forget that. But 16th century, that's the century the Jesuits came into existence. That's the century that the English alphabet was standardized with 26 letters, and it's also the same century, and that happened after the Jesuits' creation, and also after that the Gregorian calendar was introduced, named after Pope Gregory. The word Pope is 52. How many weeks in the year?
52.
Right.
By my mind.
So what I've been explaining is these people have synced up astrology, the language, and the calendar. And think about it, English is the language that's most taught worldwide, right? And it's a newer language, right? There's a lot of languages that have been here a lot longer than English.
Yeah.
So my theory is that they created this calendar in this language, and they synced up all of this old knowledge coming from Hebrew. In Greek, the practice of coding numbers into words is isopsophy. And what's funny is Omicron, if you look up the numerical value of Omicron in the Greek counting system, it equals 70. If you go back and look when the Omicron news broke, man, they were giving you a new 70%, 70 this. The vaccines are 70% effective. They were going nuts every day. I was like, God, when people just look and see that Omicron equals 70 in Greek, and then they'll understand why every headline about this is 70. So the answer to why it holds up through English is because I'm pretty sure that they are the one behind standardizing English as we know it and helping spread it. The oldest English script that's known goes back to the year 1011 AD, and it's credited to the Catholic monk Burford of Ramsey Abbey. So there's a Catholic connection with English as well. Another part of this is tarot cards, which are also credited to just before the 16th century in Italy as well, the oldest known tarot cards. They're a whole nother part of it, which is another conversation.
No, I'm into that. I'm a big Hermeticism.
So the 19th tarot card is the Sun card.
Okay.
19 hijackers on 9/11, 19 years before COVID-19 pandemic. And what's interesting is 1968. That's the year coronavirus was coined. A lot of things happened in 68, even the first case of HIV.
Very even.
Have you looked into the Dr. Kary Mullis? It's another topic.
I'm told he came up with
The PCR test.
Kary
Kary
Mullis invented the PCR test, but in the 90s he spoke out against Anthony Fauci, who's Judge Educated, and he said this man's not a real doctor. He's the face of agendas. He'll lie and say anything for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And he said he's abusing my PCR test to falsely diagnose things that's putting money in certain people's pockets. Kary Mullis died right before Event 201, which was the coronavirus pandemic simulation. And by the way, that took place the exact same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China, 1 month before the outbreak. And the military World Games were invented by the Jesuits. That's why the first iteration of it was in Italy in 95, when the Jesuits' original purpose was to count the 95 theses. That's why they were recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left there. But going back to 1968, coronavirus coined that year, HIV first case. World Trade Center construction began that year. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones with a graduating class of 911 members.
All of them
From his
up in
birthday.
cabinet positions.
From his birthday, July 6th to September 11th,
I know, me too.
is 68 days each year. Timothy McVeigh was born in 68. Muhammad Atta, the lead hijacker supposedly on 9/11, was born in 68. On September 1st, a date that can be written 1/9 like 19 hijackers, 19 years before COVID-19. In 1968, they say the Quran code was discovered, which says that the entire Quran, every important number in it is divisible by 19. Like there's 114 surahs, which is 19 times 6. So that was discovered in 68. So just coming here to the Oklahoma, I'd never been here before, but walking around the Oklahoma City building bombing, I knew that there's a lot of 68s with that. It happened 68 days after the governor's birthday, Keating. Did you know his brother wrote a book called The Final Jihad, where Tom
I think
McVeigh.
I have a signed copy of that.
You do?
My dad. It's in my room.
Okay, so that's very curious thing to know about that. So that happened 68 days after the governor's birthday, and the AT&T building. Again, AT&T's who made 911 the national emergency dialing code in 68. The AT&T building that overlooks that site was established in 1927, so 68 years before 95. The judge who presided over McVeigh's trial, sentence to death, his birthday happens to be June 8th. Shout out to Dari who caught that yesterday. I didn't even know that when I came down here. Right? In Gematria, Patriots Day 68. It happened on Patriots Day. And I'm forgetting a few other things, but. Oh, that was a 77. Yeah, that was 77. That's another story. But I'm even forgetting a few more pieces. But anyway, from what I've shared with you, does this seem totally random and disjointed, or does it seem like there's a pretty strong pattern here?
Well, from the best I can make it, I can see why the interpretation could be, because there is a connecting thread, right? So I guess I would need to know more about, so why put all this effort into, pretty mundane stuff when the alternative explanation for this is a bunch of, disconnected individuals who are operating for their own, sort of class interest, right? Can kind of maintain this same, program over time, right? So a very class-based view of why stuff like this happens. It just seems like a more efficient way of understanding than a super concentrated group of extremely powerful individuals. It seems like if they were actually that smart and powerful, they would recognize that it's just inefficient to be, ladling symbolism just every single thing that happens. Wouldn't they just rather not? It seems like a big waste of effort.
I hear that. That's a lot of people. So again, it goes back to Kabbalah. Kabbalah is a true belief system that people operate by because it's spirituality.
Yeah.
There's a part of it called the Qliphoth, and it's about sorcery and spell casting. And there's people who believe that this has real influence over others, like spelling, right? Words, magic. And I was around your age when 9/11 happened. I was a freshman in college, and to me it was just the most obvious lie ever. But nobody else felt the same way around me. Everyone thought I lost my mind and questioned the event. And the way I felt is, am I in a Disney movie? Like, is everybody under a spell? Because this is the most obvious lie there was blamed on a man in a cave, And it, just the whole thing at the time, just George W. Bush coming from the secret society, being the first Republican president since his father. But what I understood is numerology was something, right? Because we have this national emergency on 911, right? If you look at a numerology, do you know what the master number is in numerology? It's 11. So the World Trade Centers, what did they look like?
They look like an 11th.
In New York, do you know what state that is in order of statehood?
Is it the 11th?
It is the 11th state. It was flight 811, right? The 11th of the month. George H.W. Bush, the father, not the president at the time, but his father, who was the 41st president. Have you ever seen a speech from September 11th, 1990? He says, there will be a new world order, and it'll be free or a tear. That speech was given 11 years to the day of the attack, right? So when I was your age, I was starting to look at this, and I was like, there's something to numbers. These people are, if you pay attention to news stories, which is hard to do as a college student because you already have so much to do.
And when the Russians move the screen.
By the way, Biden's from the town of Scranton, Pennsylvania. Do you know what TV show set in Scranton?
Go to his channel already.
No.
The Office.
Oh, yeah.
In almost
You're
every
way
show, they
behind,
show
buddy.
the Jesuit prep school. It's very famous.
Put the video
Jesuit prep
games
school.
down.
Their flag is almost in every episode. Guess how many episodes that show ran? 201.
Of course.
By the way, I forgot to tell you that Jewish mysticism equals 201, right? That's where all this comes from. Kabbalah.
In what language?
English. You just write out Jewish mysticism, 201. All these things are in English. So, if you just pay attention, they abuse this number so much. Just at the New York subway shooting, they had to put in the story that the shooter picked up his U-Haul truck, and here we are just a week before the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing where he had the rental truck, right? But they had to put in the story that he picked it up at 2:01 p.m. That comes right after the mass shooting in California, which is another ritual, right next to the Capitol, where they said it happened at 2:01 a.m. If you pay attention, they put this number in so many stories, so many rituals. So again, it does seem inefficient and silly. I totally get that, and that's the hardest thing to But you have to understand, these people are operating from a spiritual point of view where they believe in this, and seemingly, even though it sounds stupid and silly, which I agree with, it seems like it actually might be effective, because it really does seem like people are in a trance. Do you feel that way about your fellow man? Like,
certainly, but I think you can take a very simple, even like, psychoanalytic framework and see that people are perfectly capable of deluding themselves, and all you need to do is saturate an environment with very material, straightforward information that is directly linked to fiscal concerns, right? So I work in public relations, and you just you pay some think tanks to tell everyone that oil is really good, and then 50 journalists will write your articles about how oil is really good, and then million people are going to read your articles, and now they're all going to believe that oil is good. And this is all very firmly grounded in money and individual self-interest. And even though it all eventually does, trickle down from this, upper strata of extremely well-placed and deeply interconnected individuals, they're all just trying to make money, right? The ultimate driving engine behind all of this stuff is going to be a kind of ulterior algorithm that they're exploiting to, get more stuff for themselves, right? They don't necessarily need a spiritual and ideological drive, right?
I hear what you're saying. You could absolutely achieve it by just doing that way. I 100% agree with you. And sometimes I have the same thing. Why don't they just do it this way? But if you start to really pay attention to the articles, you'll see how often certain numbers are inserted just repetitively. They had to say 33 shots fired in the subway where coincidentally all the cameras were out. How often do they put that number 33 in a mass shooting?
This guy is pretty smart right here. So.
And there's a reason for all these things. That number is very special with Masonry, which is highly connected to the police. In Gematria, police, Masonry, secrecy, order, federal, they all equal 33. So, again, I totally get what you're saying. I'm just saying if you start to pay attention, you'll realize that they really are very repetitive with their patterns. And I agree with you. It seems like they could achieve what they're already achieving without doing the number ritual. In a way, though, I'm grateful that they do the number ritual, because when people pay attention and start to look, they start to see how helpful it is. For example, I helped a bunch of people make a lot of money off Oklahoma football games this year and the last 8 years, because college football games are rigged by this code. Week after week, the upsets, we're able to see them a mile away. The games are rigged. Baylor upset both Oklahoma teams this year by the same number they won the college championship with. Baylor University equals 82. They won the 82nd March Madness, and they did the 82 special on both Oklahoma schools and 2 upsets this year. So that's the value of learning this knowledge. I mean, I'm not encouraging gambling, but it really can put money in your pocket. And it's allowed us to show who's going to win the elections before it happens. I told everybody why it was a done deal, why Joe Biden, even though no one supports him, will be the 46th president. The word Catholic's 46. The election was exactly 46 weeks after Pope Francis's birthday. JFK, the only Catholic president before, was killed at age 46. And it's not arbitrary. In the Old Testament of Catholic Bibles, there's 46 books. There's only 39 in Protestant. So that Catholic-Jewish connection, Jesuit, right? The language. And you remember that Beau Biden died at age 46, his son? His son died in 2015 at age 46. And would you believe that he died exactly 201 days before the Pope's birthday? And the president of Georgetown, Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, did the funeral for Beau Biden and the inauguration for Joe Biden. And Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan equals 201. And what day's inauguration day? The 14th. I don't know. 20/1. January 20th. January 20th. 201. And the Jesuits have been in D.C. longer than the federal government. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. When he spoke in D.C. in 2015, he spoke on the 266th day of the year. The Jesuit motto is Jesus Hominum Salvator, which equals 266. The first Jesuit Pope's 266, spoken in. And I don't know if you know this, if you look at the history,
I gotta catch this
that
guy.
land was gifted by a man named Francis Pope with the Jesuits. It used to be called Rome on the Potomac. And now the first Jesuit Pope all these years later is Pope Francis. So, again, there's a lot to it. But you're a brilliant mind, and you're very well spoken, and your vocabulary is excellent, and I really appreciate you engaging with us and sharing this. I got to ask you though, what is this symbol?
I think again, a lot of this stuff is really going to be more clear, you know,
Okay.
it all kind of
Pay
tends
attention as time goes on.
Just keep your eyes open. A lot of it'll just sort of unravel itself.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
A lot of things tend to work like that. I would say though, just briefly going back to your 11s, and you also brought up our two Catholic presidents. Scooting back to JFK, if you want to look at JFK, I think that's time to bring into the conversation Alan Dulles, right?
Okay.
Very embedded in the Jesuits, and September 11th, 1973, Pinochet overturns
Yep.
right? And so
I was big on this when I was your age. That's Chile's 9/11.
exactly, and so when you start to see
So
Uh-oh.
here's what I tell you. The man, here's what I forgot to say. The man who inspired Timothy McVeigh to blow up the building, the author, he wrote the Turner Diary.
Go over to go catch Will and Andy. Guys, we're gonna split this interview up a little bit.
I didn't say you're violating it. I just want to know if you what other? And that's what you call the walk of shame. Uneducated walk of shame.
Were you aware of this?
I assume they didn't.
Okay, so the reason Albert Pike even has a statue in DC being a Confederate is because he's considered the nation's most important Freemason in the 1820s.
Walk of shame. Always reform.
Modern Freemasonry was created by the Jesuits in the banking district of London, June 24, 1717. The first Jesuit university here is named after the Freemason George Washington. They share the motto at the 32nd degree at Marum Dei Gloriam.
Gematria effect news.
Okay. So, the Capitol insurrection. So get this. Remember the George Floyd riots, right? After that, that's what tore down the Albert Pike statue. So here's how this goes. George Floyd is holding equals to
Right here.
You see Michelle?
his killing
Yeah.
was compared to how Adama Traore was killed in Paris, France, which led to similar riots in France. Adama Traore was killed on the 201st day of 2016, exactly 201 weeks before George Floyd, right? So that led the attention, the statue that got the most attention for being torn down in the nation
He's
because of
calling
rights
us
was the
liberals,
Albert
yeah.
Pike statue in DC. Now, from the Albert
Funny
Pike
because
statue,
liberals don't question the authority.
Liberal? Are you serious?
liberals,
The bike of
I've never
shame.
seen someone take the bike of shame before. I've seen it happen where
He said
in
we're
vehicular
liberals.
transport.
Like what?
It's like they're liberals. They're liberals. No, we don't fall for any of the
I don't
Democrats
fall
or
for
Republicans.
either.
They both Democrats and Republicans, they both vote for the Patriot Act, right? They will reauthorize the Patriot Act. They both have illegal wars in Yemen, illegal wars in Libya, Syria will do illegal bombings. Doesn't make a difference.
Right wing, same thing.
NSA spying, we'll continue the NSA spying. Don't make a difference to Democrat, Republican. Remember when Obama came in, he says, we're going to stop all the NSA spying. We're going to bring home more troops. Next day, he's like, nope. And everyone was like, oh, Daddy Trump's our savior. Daddy Trump's our savior. He was like, JFK said, I'm going to shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Trump says, nobody loves the CIA more than me. People still think that Trump is going to look like that guy. He believes that Trump's going to show up in Dallas with JFK and save the world. That's why he doesn't have to do any activism himself. He's just going to show up when JFK comes back. He just trusts the plan.
The Jesuits created the CIA and the FBI.
We're no group.
so that
We all
Yeah.
individuals. We come from
And
all
speaking
over
about the
all over
Jesuits, Hillary
You
Clinton's
can go
a
to,
Jesuit. Donald Trump's a Jesuit. Anthony Fauci's a Jesuit. Joe Biden's a Jesuit. You want to pitch?
Albert Einstein. I could go on for
Yeah.
hours.
Take
They
your
want to
pick.
know more about what's going on.
So basically, as far back as
Do you want
ancient,
to clip this back to you and tell us what you guys are doing here?
well, there's a variety of different people here. I'm gonna use my own mic too, if that's okay. Would you hold this for me, sir?
Here, no, I'll take this.
Okay,
you want to
thanks.
take that? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So we're double live. Yeah, you can
So
leave it there.
I'm relatively new to this idea, but what gematria is ever since the ancient world, as far back as Sargon of Akkad, the ancient Greece, and the ancient Hebrews have assigned a number to every single letter. And so there's this numerical significance, and he's uncovered a number of coincidences that happen to pertain to world events and Jesuits as well. So I'm kind of new to this information, but there's a number of things that people should be upset about, whether it's the NSA still continually to continuing to spy, whether it's wars in Yemen, Libya, what's going on in Syria, whether it's, Jeffrey Epstein, right? The victims still have never gotten any justice for that entire thing. Trump was on that list, Clinton's on that list. Bill Gates only started hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein after he got caught.
So we got a double education going on here.
Great day.
I see that.
Very brilliant guy. And next week, the Wall Street Journal, he found out about Jeffrey Epstein. So the people running, and he's involved in
Zach,
science, technology, and
she wants to know
also
more
the loss of
about
our freedom,
what's going
right?
on
This country's supposed to be better
after
than other countries,
Epstein's
supposedly,
done.
because we have the Bill of Rights, we have the freedom. And as I just illustrated right there, and I've asked dozens of cops in the last week alone, hey, how seriously do you take your oath? Pretty seriously. Oh, hey, what's your favorite football team? They tell you all about Tom Brady and this stuff. We're like, okay, yeah, what's the Third Amendment? They don't know. These people are swearing an oath to a document they've never read. People have given blood, sweat, and tears for this, and they have no idea what they're even talking about. So in order to have our freedoms, it's participatory. We have to flex our rights. And so we're going out here, we're trying to be nonviolent and just wake people up to a number of different things. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, you don't tend to come out.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
And then
Thank you.
Do you want
right
to
here.
speak on this a little bit and what y'all are doing over here?
Oh, right here. She's got.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
You can flip that to your jacket if you'd like. I'll just
Got a nice audience out here.
Dana, we only have time for one more.
Okay.
How much time do you have?
About 30.
You got 2 minutes to just free talk.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Okay. Came down here to educate about how we might have been lied to about Oklahoma City, April 1995, unprecedented act of terrorism before 9/11 blamed on Timothy McVeigh, a member of the U.S. military. Please look into what a military personnel file is called. It's called a 201 file. And again, the military represents the federal government. The federal land is Washington, D.C., where the Jesuit order has been for longer than the federal government has been. Georgetown, the nation's first Jesuit university. The Jesuits are into esoteric information. They are the military order of the Roman Catholic Church. They are into Kabbalah. Kabbalah has a text called the Book of Formation. On the opening page, it says, God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. The practice of quoting numbers and words is gematria, which means geometry of language. If you study this code, it's very simple. A1, B2, C3. If you add up the letters of the name Ignatius of Loyola, it equals 201, which is not arbitrary. Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits on April 19, 1541, and this day is full of tragedy throughout history. Canada just lost their gun rights because of the mass shooting on April 19, 2020, 2 years ago. Ignatius of Loyola is 201. So is the name of the first Jesuit pope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. That's Pope Francis. His birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is 201. He's the first Jesuit pope and the first living suite 201 in the Vatican. If you look into the history of the Jesuits, their order was preserved by Catherine the Great, who preserved the order with 201 Jesuit priests. If the same code, if you write out the Jesuit order, it's 201. If you write out Timothy McVeigh, it's 201. If you write out Timothy Nichols, it is 201. And again, he was a military man. The military personnel file is 201 file. The Jesuits have used this number throughout history to scar our minds with actions. It's not an accident that Timothy McVeigh was put to death 3 months before 9/11 on June 11, 2001. Two towers became zero, became one. He was also sentenced to death June 13, 97, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Look into that date, 1942. That's the year that the U.S. propaganda department was established. And if you look into the history of the word propaganda, it was first used by the Catholic Church in 1622. So I know you said it 2 minutes.
Yeah, all right.
That's the
2
short
minutes.
arrow.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
guys. So, got a whole audience out here wondering what's going on.
Zach, you met like your younger self? That exchange was interesting.
It was.
Steven. You met like a younger version
Oh,
of yourself.
he's got way better vocabulary than I do.
Right.
You went deep on that.
He sure did. He's like, I got a signed copy of the last Jihad in your dorm room?
Yeah, that's crazy.
As a freshman.
So it just shows
Yeah.
this is the Jesuit.
Sure.
This is the oath that Biden and Trump both took as Jesuits. So when you're reading what the oath is to become a Jesuit, I wouldn't want to do any of those things. But Trump and Biden are blood brothers. You have to get Biden.
Shout out to
his
Fake
blood.
Mike Real News. Go to his channel if you haven't already. Subscribe, share, like, support.
We did a lot of videos with Right the Matrix over there too. So I'm uploading some more as we speak. So we got a few cop watches and the audits we did the last couple of days. They put the sound attacks on us. They shut off the video, or maybe I don't know what I did. Pretty fun, pretty entertaining, guys. Like I said, Paychecks is the man, and the best way that you can help him out is to help yourself. Share the videos, share the streams with other people, so new people get eyeballs on this, so we can change this current paradigm, this negative and crappy paradigm that we're living under.
Yeah.
Who are those?
What's going on? They want to talk.
They were here for the all of the lightning strikes. When lightning hits the sand, it turns into glass.
That's how it happens. You know, periodically there'll be groups showing up, and then they'll be disappearing.
Just the whole Biden thing.
With the
You just look at the
two triangle bushes in front of the
wife and
school.
daughter dies right after he becomes senator-elect on Limestone Road. He goes to 201. His son dies at 46 before he becomes number 46. 201 days before the Pope's birthday. Going back to Limestone Road, that's what the pyramids are made out of. There's 201 remaining layers of stone on the pyramid.
I can't believe they said we're liberals. Can you believe that? And then they run like
I know,
liberals.
they
That's what liberals
they
do.
got triggered.
Right.
They got triggered by free speech.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so conservatives, they love free speech, right? And then they heard people engaging in free speech, and they got triggered, and they did the bike of shame. they got up on their feels.
That was funny.
AOC fans.
That was funny. They said we were liberals and then did what liberals do, talk shit and run. That was funny. I wish I would have caught that. But that was funny. Oh, look at a butterfly. Oh, the monarch butterfly. So dope. No comment. With the polyethylene, no comment.
Who said that?
We're gonna be viral on campus.
This will make more sense.
Yeah,
I know, what is this?
He gave us a few.
You're not afraid?
And you zoomed in on. He
Yeah, like,
said
what is
he
this?
said just pay attention in the coming days. It'll make much more sense. So just remember this. Like, okay.
Look at this guy. That's so weird.
That's like a band for Yakuza.
A kid actually.
Be not afraid. Oh, this is what he had?
At certain points, though, he was like kind of snarky. Like, oh really? Oh, you know, he'd be sarcastic. They're very smart.
Be afraid, be not. That's weird.
That is weird.
He gave this to y'all?
Yeah, he went in the building. He's come back like 3 times and keep talking to us. He went in the building this last time. He came back here. I got you guys something.
Maybe he's gonna false flag it and they're gonna try to blame it on him. It's gonna be a false flag. Pay attention, guys. It wasn't us.
Right. Was not us.
Thanks, disambiguation. This is weird. Yeah, the one guy that Zach was talking to passed these out. Weird.
Oh no. Yeah, because people talking. He's on what is your sign saying?
I don't know what that sign is. Be not afraid.
It doesn't matter what it says. It doesn't matter.
Be not afraid. Weird. Yours?
I would have told him there's an audience back there at Angel, and then let's
No, but they were all filming from the window too. That's all I
Yeah,
said.
there was
I was
extra
trying to
audience.
listen.
Yeah.
They're probably
And they were filming over there too. She brought
they,
that
they
big
probably
camera.
have their social media for the
Right,
campus
right.
and put us all on there.
Cranking it up.
Well, can y'all tag one of us? Can y'all follow something?
Because they're watching us too, right behind us on the bench.
Yeah.
They're liberals.
Oh yeah, they were.
You could tell.
Yeah,
You could tell. You could tell they're gonna be like
I can already
parents.
guess people. Like,
Exactly.
I can already guess people's
I'm like,
political
we're the
affiliation
liberals?
just by.
What they do.
And that guy cannot.
Wait, what?
So shout out everybody in the chats. Jude, Truth and Justice, Mexican Righteous, Dana, Julian, Cuts, Disambiguation, G. Cole. Oh man, all you guys. Let's see. Julian, Solo FR238. Shout out to all you guys. I'm still scrolling, guys. Kid Cole, G Cole. Oh shit. Shout out to Artie's Corporate Fiction. We're gonna have a nice debate one day. Shout out to the Karen's on the bench. So pretty sure they're carrying it right here. Because they were like, oh God. See, they can't figure us out. They don't know what we are. We're not liberals. We're not Trumpers. We're not, it's kind of fucks them all up. The energy,
So
they
what
know.
happens? What happens?
They
when
know the
people aren't
energy.
A liberal or a conservative, they're automatically a conspiracy theorist because
Gotta
they have
put
to
you in a
put you in a box. Exactly. And so then they can feel better about themselves. They're like, well, they're just conspiracy theorists. And nothing they say makes any sense.
Yes. To
That's their
discredit.
ways to dismiss us.
But the stuff we're saying making a lot of sense to
We're
them.
I mean,
They
I
say
can't
you're all like-
verify everything that everyone says, but I know the shit that I'm talking is facts. You know what I'm
What's
saying?
up, guys?
I'm a conspiracy fact.
Who do you guys think killed Jeffrey Epstein?
What are you gonna do? It's quiet now. I don't know, man. I don't
The
know.
reason nobody knows about the Third Amendment is because it's like we haven't had to deal with it in our lifetime.
Right.
You can't let you can't just soldiers just can't come in and occupy your house.
Right. But they do it already because
With
the
the
soldiers.
NSA.
They made the
Criminal
soldiers police
Yeah,
officers.
that's true.
It's in your house, it's in your hand.
They now have a soldier that can
The soldiers are the police officers. That's what they don't tell us.
plant matter apparently.
That's how
Like Truth Virus says, soul dyers.
scary.
The soul dyers.
They're gonna be eating
The
us
truth
when they
virus
run out. Thanks for inventing it, asshole.
The robot can run on plant-based foods though.
It's like the Rock
The
on
choo-choo
Saturday Night
robot.
Live. He's like, we created a pedophilic robot. Like,
I
why
saw
would you
that.
fucking create that in the first place?
Right.
I
I'm
created
like,
a
why'd you have to
flesh-eating,
add that in
human-eating
there?
robot, and now I'm upset about
And
it.
that's supposed to be funny. Jokes
Don't invent
about
it next time,
people
maybe.
who like sex with kids are supposed to be funny. And everybody's like, ha ha ha, with the canned laughter. I don't find that funny ever. People joke about children that way.
So far, I gotta say though, the people at LSU a lot more engaging than the people at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Louisiana State?
Uh-huh. LSU campus was good.
You should do a campus tour.
I would love to do that. Just go around the whole country, campus. But you know what? That was before COVID. So that's true. So what happens psychologically? Maybe if I go to LSU now, it's not as effective. Maybe COVID's dampening the effect. on
Here it comes. Must be them. It must be pass it around social media. They start rolling in. 31,000 students enrolled at the university. Only a handful out watching.
It says there's 31,000.
Yeah, 31,694.
I wonder if that stat's even true because Oklahoma equals 31. They score a lot of 31-point football games. Oklahoma does.
Yeah, you know what? That might be their journalism. Their
It
journalism
is.
business.
When
Oh, it
it's
is.
Go read what it says on the
Yeah.
plate.
Oh, I
yeah.
did see like the mics and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That's why they just came out here real quick.
Well, we picked the right place to post up at then.
So this is supposedly frozen because of a Russian cyber attack. I love it. So I just have this froze there with Zelensky up there. It's just,
Russian cyber attack.
that's what
Life
you say.
Fighter,
Yeah,
that's
it's
because
a
that's about
Russian
all
cyber
that
attack.
will
So it's
even
frozen on Zelensky.
know and understand what's going on. That's why there's only a few. And the few that stopped actually pretty smart.
Richard there in St. Louis.
Yeah, I seen that earlier.
Still flipping them biscuits. Who's in the chat that hasn't shared yet? Oh wow, we got 61 watching. Good, let's go. Let's go. Who press 1 if you shared in this chat. Press 2 if you love Mao Zedong. It's one of the two.
According to an astrologer, the most romantic.
Got two
zodiac
Karens
sign
right there.
is the Pisces.
Yeah.
You're a Pisces.
Said we run by emotion.
When's your birthday?
12 March.
March, February.
Damn, it's a beautiful sky. It looks better in the screen though.
No, behind it, it's like
Shout out to all you guys. at some point.
That's right.
But yeah, we'll get some more action. I'm actually getting hungry. My phone is 15.
I just realized that's one of those fold phones. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it works pretty good for the stream.
You got good cameras too, right?
Yeah, look
the
at-
cameras like your car.
Funny, it's got a nice big screen too. That's what's cool about it.
You see all the comments, it looks nice and clear. It's like a fucking tablet.
That's what you have in your car, right?
No, I use my iPhone.
God, I'm always amazed at how you can read your comments in your car. I'm like, how's it see?
Oh,
Good eyes.
I'm off. So there's some more people coming now. Oh man, that freaking. I'll give you guys some more action.
Who do you guys think killed Jeffrey Epstein? DJ, rest in peace to K Slay.
Oh yeah,
Keeping
DJ
real
K
hip
Slay.
hop alive, man.
That's why you need to invest in my work. Because see, this is the kill day. Every month the kill day comes around. There's a big old death every single month. Prove it every single month. I got all the day circled.
Yeah,
So
did you hear
it only
about
comes
K
out
Slay?
once a month.
You heard
DJ
about
K
K
Slay today.
Yeah. What's the significance behind that one?
I haven't looked into it. He's told me right now.
Oh,
Breaking news.
yeah, I sent them over to Jonathan's channel. Sure.
Dead in his 56th year of life. Go figure.
Was he 50? Oh yeah, that's 56.
No, he's 55. 55 years, 56 year life. 55 is related to sacrifice, though. But the Jesuits run hip hop, man. That's why they put Tupac album out on the day, leaving 56 days left of the year with him on the cross. Guy Fawkes Day.
All right, guys, I'm gonna end this now. We'll be back later. I don't know, maybe we'll go grab something to eat or something. I'm gonna end this now. Shout out to everybody.
Died from COVID-19. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Right.
His 56 year
COVID
life, man.
complications, yeah.
Of course he did on the kill day. Just dead from COVID. Another 56 for the club. Talking about, man, it's a damn shame.
Yeah, we already been to all those churches. We just haven't been doing videos. They've been all over to those places, talking to people, walking downtown. Yesterday we went to a church called Frontline. Blow your mind. They said that we found this on the window of the church. Right? We found this on the window of the church. Easter, and he said that during the bombing it blew the windows out. He didn't know nothing about it. He said it blew the windows out, and then lo and behold, those were the windows they put in. Pretty crazy. Maybe if we get a chance to walk by there again, I'll show you guys the Jesuit logo in stained glass window of the church. And he said he didn't really even know nothing about it, but he said they were all blown out during the Oklahoma City bombing, and then those are the windows they replaced. A lot of weird stuff downtown.
Guys, everyone's saying they're kind of hungry. Should we go get something to eat?
But we're gonna go break off and something to eat. Peace and love, guys. We'll be back live on this channel. Love y'all. Thanks for joining, tuning in, and see y'all real soon.